I expect Bitcoin to go up 29% a year on average for the next 21 years, right? I'm expecting $21 million Bitcoin in 21 years. So I expect Bitcoin to appreciate 21% a year thereafter. The risk-free rate is 29%. If I do nothing, take no risk. If you're in the Bitcoin network, every single investment idea you consider has got to return more than 29% plus a risk premium, plus another premium for the headache. And even if you did that, there's a diversification discount. And the thing you got to keep in mind, and when you're running a public company is there is a diversification discount. If people look at my company and they say 100% of the risk and 100% of the return is levered to Bitcoin.
Bitcoin isn't just breaking price records, it's breaking through barriers of how the world understands money. Michael Saylor, the co-founder and executive chairman of MicroStrategy, continues to shape the conversation around Bitcoin as both a financial asset and a technological breakthrough. With Bitcoin currently trading at $121,156.75 after a 2.1% increase in the last 24 hours, Saylor emphasizes that MicroStrategy has a responsibility to lead by example, sharing their corporate strategies, hosting the Bitcoin for Corporations conference, and publishing their playbook to guide others in the ecosystem. Unlike traditional industries where winners often come at the expense of others, Bitcoin's fixed supply of 21 million coins ensures alignment among all holders, creating a system where participants collectively benefit. Saylor compares Bitcoin's rapid adoption to an airplane breaking the sound barrier, highlighting the turbulence created by society struggling to digest its growth. Yet, as with every major technological revolution, from electricity to oil to automobiles, this initial skepticism eventually gives way to widespread adoption. Looking ahead, Saylor projects Bitcoin could appreciate 29% annually over the next 21 years, potentially reaching $21 million per coin. He notes that investing in the Bitcoin network offers returns far exceeding the traditional risk-free rate, factoring in risk premiums, diversification discounts, and operational complexities. For investors and corporations alike, Bitcoin presents a unique opportunity to capture outsized returns while participating in a transformative shift in global finance. The biggest moves in crypto are just ahead. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next breakout as it happens.
I feel like we have a responsibility to set a good example and to support and nurture everybody else in the marketplace. So we've tried new things, we've experimented, and I think we go out of our way to share our learnings. We've sponsored a Bitcoin for Corporations conference ever since we got in this space, and we published our playbook. We've open sourced what we're doing. We publish securities filings explaining exactly what we do, what we've learned. I think it's incumbent upon us to point out what we think works, what doesn't work. There are a lot of ways to approach this, and I think the inspirational part of this movement is that unlike a lot of other industries where there can be a winner and everybody else is a loser, Walmart wins, most retailers lose. Amazon wins and 20,000 retailers lose. Apple wins and 20,000 device manufacturers lose. There's a lot of that. In the Bitcoin ecosystem, everybody can win because we're all aligned with the common value system, and the base asset that we're using is Bitcoin, and there's only going to be 21 million or less. And the network is the Bitcoin network. And so the growth and the success of a Bitcoin treasury company, or even just a company that is holding Bitcoin in its treasury, we could just refer to any normal company that's got some Bitcoin. Any of those corporations adopting Bitcoin to any degree is beneficial to Bitcoin, to the entire network, and to every other company in the movement. So I think it's been very gratifying to see the growth of the industry. We do our part. I think there are a lot of great contributions made by other companies, and every day I read about another company trying a different strategy, and I think we're all learning together. And when companies try something and it works well, I think you'll see adoption, and when companies try things and they're suboptimal, then we'll know not to do that thing. And so it's definitely a team effort. I think when an airfoil moves faster than the speed of sound, like an airplane goes faster than the speed of sound, it creates a shock wave and a sonic boom. And it's very loud, it's very noisy, it's very turbulent. And what's going on when you're going faster than the speed of sound is you're going faster than the rate at which air can communicate to the air in front of it, right? The molecules in front of your fuselage are not able to communicate to the molecules 100 meters in front of you. So you end up with this sonic boom and massive turbulence and massive noise and chaos. What's going on with Bitcoin is evolving faster than a society can digest it. And so I think you could say this is all consistent. Bitcoin was misunderstood in the year 2011. It was misunderstood by me in the year 2013. It was misunderstood again in 2015, 2017, 2019, 2021. When we first got into the space in 2020, there were people that misunderstood it, and we had massive amount of criticism when our stock was $10 a share. When our stock went to $100 a share, it was massive amount of criticism again. When it crashed to $20 a share, there was still massive criticism. When we had $2 billion of Bitcoin, people were cackling, or $1 billion, saying, oh, you lost $1 billion on this. When we made $100 billion, everybody disappeared and slunk into the shadows. And then a new set of trolls, a new set of critics came out when our market cap went above 100 billion. It's a different set of cynics, a different set of critics, a different set of misconceptions. I think you're going to see the ebb and flow of that set of misconceptions and that anxiety. It'll continue when Bitcoin is 100,000. It'll continue when Bitcoin is 1 million. It'll continue when Bitcoin is 10 million. It'll continue when Bitcoin goes to 20 million. And there's always going to be a new narrative of fear, uncertainty, and doubt. It'll be a different generation. You know, the people that used to laugh and say, oh yeah, you lost $1 billion trading in Bitcoin, they're gone. They disappeared, right? There'll be a new generation of people that say, do you think it makes sense to buy Bitcoin at $1 million a coin? It's going to trade down to 500,000, right? And then there'll be a set of people that will say, you're buying it at 10 million a coin, it's going to trade to 6 million, you moron, you lost so much money. This is how societies deal with new ideas. If you study paradigm shifts, how long did it take to embrace electricity? How long did people thought John D. Rockefeller was crazy for 30 years until he was the richest man in the world. And then and at the point that he was the richest man in the world, people thought, well, that trade is done. And that was just when they invented the automobile and he got 10 times richer, right? And so the society doesn't really deal with paradigm shifts that well in near term, but after 30, 40, 50 years, you look back and you say, well, of course we should have embraced the fire, the electricity, the wheel, the crude oil, the nuclear.
From fire to electricity to Bitcoin, every great leap in technology has redefined how humanity creates, stores, and transfers energy and wealth. Michael Saylor notes that throughout history, technological revolutions have defined human progress. Fire, metals, the wheel, electricity, and oil each transformed how societies lived and thrived. He argues that Bitcoin represents the next leap forward, describing it as digital energy. More than just digital property, capital, or gold, Bitcoin enables the transfer of value and energy across time and space at the speed of light. Much like fire provided survival and electricity powered modern cities, Bitcoin offers a new form of hope, one that can empower billions of people, institutions, and nations in the digital age. This vision of Bitcoin as digital energy is not just theoretical, it is already unfolding. MicroStrategy's 2020 decision to adopt Bitcoin on its balance sheet paved the way for other corporations to follow. What began with only a few firms has now grown to over 180 publicly traded companies holding Bitcoin, with Saylor predicting this will eventually expand into the thousands. Beyond corporate treasuries, he foresees Bitcoin integrated into everyday technology, from financial apps to global operating systems. Similarly, companies like BCB Group, founded in 2017, emerged directly from Bitcoin's innovation, building financial infrastructure for the digital asset industry. Together, these developments highlight Bitcoin's evolution from an experiment into a foundational pillar of global finance. Let's get back to the interview.
Look at the history of humanity. What has improved the human condition is technology. And the most formative technology that everybody's familiar with is fire. And fire, once upon a time, was hope. If you didn't have fire, you're going to freeze to death or starve to death. And then over time, other important technologies evolved. After fire, we mastered metals, and there was the Bronze Age, the Iron Age. The wheel was a pretty important technology. No wheel, no cars. Rockefeller commercialized chemical energy in the form of oil and standardized oil and called this company Standard Oil. And the real significance of oil was the humans got 1/10 of a horsepower, and now the little dinky engine on the back of your small trawler boat is 70 horsepower, which is 700 human beings, and a typical tender could have 1,000 horsepower. And so think about 10,000 people rowing as hard as they can behind a 30-foot boat. And that's what we got when we got oil and when we got internal combustion engines. And so the hope for humanity has always been technology in a new sphere of influence, whether it's automobiles or airplanes or electricity or oil or fire. Bitcoin is hope because Bitcoin represents digital energy. It represents energy in cyberspace. It represents digital property, digital capital, digital gold. But in its most profound setting, it means digital energy, a way to convey energy through time, through space, that is life-affirming for 8 billion people, for 400 million corporations, for millions and millions of institutions, for hundreds of countries, for tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of municipalities. And if I were to say fire is hope, and you were shivering and freezing to death, you would get it. And if I were to say electricity is hope, and you were in New York City trapped on the 98th floor of a skyscraper or trying to get up to the 98th floor of a skyscraper, you would get it. And now when I say Bitcoin is hope, I mean Bitcoin is digital energy. And if you want to send energy at the speed of light from here to halfway around the earth to save the life or solve the problem of another human being or corporation, you're going to need digital energy. And so it represents the next paradigm shift, the next manifestation in the story of energy and the story of human beings harnessing energy in order to improve the quality of their lives. Well, I think we're really talking about the integration of digital energy into the civilization. So, what do you want to see? Well, let's start with the basic application of digital energy as capital, digital capital. There's a trend right now for publicly traded companies to recapitalize on Bitcoin. Our company was the first in 2020. Then there were 2 or 3, and then there were 10, and then there were 20, then there were 40. And about a year ago, there were 60. And then about 3 months ago, there were 120. And right now, there's more than 180. And I would expect that one way you know that the world is adopting Bitcoin is we go from 100 to 1,000 to 10,000 to 100,000. As some people have said, one day every company will be a Bitcoin treasury company. So recapitalizing companies on Bitcoin is one measure of adoption. I think another measure of adoption is building support for Bitcoin into software applications. So, right now you have applications that run on iPhones or Android phones like Cash App that have Bitcoin in them. You have wallets that support Bitcoin, but I look forward to the day when Apple builds it into the iPhone, when Google builds it into the Android operating system, when Microsoft builds it into the Microsoft operating systems. And it's either integral to the operating system of every consumer device, or it's integral to the hardware itself, and people start to integrate Bitcoin support into all the hardware devices that propagate throughout the world. And I think that'll be another really, really big sign.
Bitcoin stands at the forefront of a financial and technological transformation, emerging as more than just an asset class. With its fixed supply, borderless design, and incorruptible foundation, it offers a transparent and resilient system for storing and transferring value across time and space. Corporate adoption continues to accelerate, financial infrastructure is being rebuilt around it, and integration into software and hardware points to a future where Bitcoin becomes embedded in daily life. What was once dismissed as speculative is steadily proving to be a cornerstone of digital finance, a system capable of empowering individuals, institutions, and nations in an increasingly digital economy. Do you believe Bitcoin is on its way to becoming the backbone of the global financial system, much like electricity once became the backbone of modern industry? Crypto doesn't wait. Comment your perspective, pass this along to your network, and subscribe to catch the next wave before it breaks.